Senator, do you have a crime that you think Hunter Biden committed? Because I've yet to see anybody explain it is not a crime to make money off of your last name.
So, Chuck, you ought to read the Marco Polo report, where they detail all kinds of potential crimes. You know, Senator Grass and I certainly
let me just stop you there. Potential. Potential is innuendo.
About $30,000.
That's why you do investigation.
I mean, Chuck, is it a crime to be soliciting and purchasing prostitution in potentially European sex trafficking operations? Is that a crime? Because Chuck Grass and I laid out about $30,000 paid by Hunter Biden to those types of individuals over December 2018, 2019, about $30,000. This is about the same time that President Biden offered to pay about $100,000 of Hunter Biden's bills. I mean, again, that's just some information. I don't know exactly.
Here's what I don't get. All right, Senator.
It doesn't really look on the. It sounds sleazy, as you know.
I'll take you at your word that you're ethically bothered by Hunter Biden. I'm curious, though. You seem to have a pattern.
Are you not?
I seem to have a pattern. I'm a journalist. I have to deal in facts.
Are you not?
I deal in facts. It says, Senator, my question to you is, I'm always worried. I have skepticism of both parties. I sit here with skepticism of a lot of people's work. And I'm curious, were you at all concerned? Your Senate Democrats want to investigate Jared Kushner's loan from the Qatari government when he was working in the government negotiating many things in the Middle East. Are you not concerned about that? And I say that because it seems to me if you're concerned about what Hunter Biden did, you should be equally outraged about what Jared Kushner did.
I'm concerned about getting the truth. I don't target individuals. I target
you don't? You're targeting Hunter Biden multiple times on this show, Senator. You're targeting an individual.
Chuck, my concern, Chuck. You know, part of the problem, and this is pretty obvious to anybody watching this, is you don't invite me on to interview me. You invite me on to argue with me. You know, I'm just trying to lay out the facts that certainly Senator Grass and I uncovered. They were suppressed. They were censored. They interfered in the 2020 election. Conservatives understand that. Unfortunately, liberals in the media don't. And that's part of the things that part of the reasons our politics are inflamed is we do not have an unbiased media. We don't. It's unfortunate. I'm all for a free press.
Well,
it needs
Senator,
to be more unbiased.
Senator,
there's misinformation on both sides, but the censorship and suppression
we're trying to do issues here in
from the left.
Partisan cable. Look, you can go back on your partisan cable cocoon and talk about media bias all you want. I understand it's part of your identity.
Looks like Chuck Todd has just about had enough of Ron Johnson's years-long effort to vilify Hunter Biden because, well, that's what right-wing media decided to do the moment it became apparent that Joe Biden was the frontrunner to take on Trump. And yet still he has no basis to do it, considering even in this very segment, he concedes that all he has on Hunter is that he may have committed, quote, potential crimes. Funny how when it comes to Trump, the guy can incite an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, refuse to return classified documents, oversee a company committing tax fraud, and still Republicans refuse to believe that their savior played any part in it. But Hunter Biden, who is a private citizen, may have committed a, quote, potential crime, and suddenly Republicans can't parade themselves on the airways fast enough. Now, just to expand on one point that Chuck Todd made, that even if Ron Johnson really cared about the purported corruption of a politician's child, like he claims he does, then why is Hunter Biden the very first child of a politician that he's focusing on? Why not look into how Jared and Ivanka themselves made at least $172 million while Trump was president, including $3.9 million from Ivanka's stake in the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., which was essentially a way station for foreign dignitaries looking to curry favor with Trump. And that includes the Saudis booking 500 rooms to the tune of $270,000 just after Trump's election. Why not talk about how Ivanka was granted a total of 41 trademarks from the Chinese government during Trump's term? Why not look into how Ivanka used the White House to hawk branded products, including when a press release was issued to journalists promoting her gold bracelet, which cost as much as $10,800, or her outfit from her RNC speech, which she wasted no time in turning into an advertisement, or any other of the myriad of ways she's promoted a clothing line that brought her more than $5 million in 2017 alone. down. Why not investigate Jared Kushner's stake in a company called Cadre? It helps investors invest in Opportunity Zone projects offering tax breaks that he himself pushed for in Washington. Kushner purchased his holding when it was valued at least $5 million and just sold it for between $25 and $50 million. Why not look into how Don Jr. and Eric control the Trump Organization, which they pledged would have no new foreign deals while their dad was in office, and yet instead of no new foreign deals, they sold more than $100 million worth of real estate while Trump was president. And that includes a $33 million stake in a federally subsidized housing complex, which had to be approved by Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson. And of course, why not look into the issue that Chuck Todd himself brought up here, how Kushner's company bought 666 Fifth Avenue for $1.8 billion just prior to the 2008 economic crash, which then became a massive financial burden on the company. A $1.4 billion mortgage was due in February of 2019, so Kushner appealed to Qatar for investment help, which he didn't receive. Kushner then vocally supported a blockade on Qatar in what some saw as retaliation. Ultimately, a firm bailed them out, and one of the firm's biggest investors, Qatar. And surprise, no more vocal calls in support of any blockades. Seems like something that a certain Republican senator from Wisconsin might have found interesting if he was actually concerned with corruption and not just acting as a partisan shill. So let's be honest here, when you hear Ron Johnson say something like this,
part of the problem, and this is pretty obvious to anybody watching this, is you don't invite me on to interview me, you invite me on to argue with me. I'm just trying to lay out the facts that certainly Senator Grassley and I uncovered. They were suppressed, they were censored, they interfered in the 2020 election. Conservatives understand that. Unfortunately, liberals in the media don't. And that's part of the things that, part of the reasons our politics are inflamed is we do not have an unbiased media. We don't. It's unfortunate. I'm all for a free press. It needs to be more unbiased.
There's
misinformation on both sides, but the censorship and suppression
we're trying to do issues here
from the left.
Partisan cable. Look, you can go back on your partisan cable cocoon and talk about media bias all you want. I understand it's part of your identity.
All he's doing is projecting. Dude's out here whining about biased media when he's pretending to have discovered the very first case of family corruption in Washington, D.C., conveniently after 4 years of Donald Trump and his grown children, who made off with hundreds of millions of dollars, much of which came from entities that were directly impacted by Donald Trump's role as president. The truth is that you're not going to be able to shame Ron Johnson into being honest, so the best bet is to simply not invite him on air. Because if it's between being gaslit and not hearing from him at all, I choose the latter every single time. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.